Mary, that was my failed attempt at a arrumpment's mating dance. If you want an explanation, there's a link in the description, but you can watch that later. Right now, I want to respond to the Super Carlin video about the veil in the Ministry of Magic. Link in the description. Might be less confusing if you watch that first, but I don't really know. In this video, Ben theorizes that the Mirror of Ezerded, the Pensive, and the Veil are all precursors to the Deathly Hallows, and I loved what he had to say. He made some really interesting points and backed it up really well. And while I wouldn't necessarily disagree with anything he said, the tale I'm going to spin to you today has those three objects as precursors to just one Deathly Hallow, the Resurrection Stone. And those four items, Mirror, Pensive, Stone, and Veil, are all going to be plot points on the story of Cadmus Peverell's slow descent into madness. This might be a really depressing video today. For the sake of this video, let us assume that the brothers were not given the Hallows by literally death. As Dumbledore says, they were just three extremely talented and dangerous wizards. I picture Cadmus as kind of a bully, and kind of one of those impotent jerks that you knew in high school. I mean, it even says in the book, then the second brother, who was an arrogant man, decided he wanted to humiliate Death still further. To me, this is a guy who's missing something from his life, and so he's trying to fill this void that he has by putting down others and making others feel lesser than him so he can feel more important. This void could have been created before or after he came upon the Mirror of Ezerded, and he could have come upon the Mirror of Ezerded, or he could have created it hoping to find something to fill this void. Maybe he didn't know what the void was, so he created something that would show him what he was missing in his life, the deepest desire of his own heart. Whether he created it or found it, when he looked in it, maybe he saw the girl of his dreams and realized he needed her and he intended to marry her. Or maybe it was after she died and he didn't realize how much her death had hurt him, and he suddenly found that he would never be whole without her. And so this leads him to creating the Pensive. So picture this. Cadmus Peverell and his lover share a few brief years, maybe only months, but they were this wonderful, magical romance, one for the history books, or the Nicholas Sparks books. But it was beautiful and wonderful, and just like a phoenix flame, it glowed brightly for a moment, and then it was gone. But unlike a phoenix, it was gone forever. So Cadmus creates this place where he can relive those few precious moments, and if you've ever known someone for too short of a time, you know how those precious moments are the most valuable thing in the world. So Cadmus created this Pensive so he could recreate those memories perfectly. Now, the Pensive, it doesn't just create what you remember, because, I mean, think about how much our memories are tainted just by human error. No, it recreates everything perfectly. Like, you can find things out that you didn't even know was there. For example, if I were to look at this memory in a Pensive 10 years from now, I might be able to remember that I was holding the Tales of Beetle the Bard, but I would not be able to remember that the barcode was 9780545 blah, blah, blah. But if I were to go back in a Pensive, I could see that very clear. So the Pensive allows you to experience things that you experienced, like you never experienced them before. I mean, even Horace Slughorn, when he purposefully tried to taint his memories, I mean, that was pretty shoddy workmanship, and it was intentional. And Slughorn's no third-rate wizard anyway. But Cadmus, as he's rewatching and rewatching, I mean, he might reach out to touch his lover, but since it's just a Pensive, he can't actually touch her, or talk to her, or be with her in any way. Cadmus was not satisfied with what the Pensive offered him. So, he created the Resurrection Stone. He was trying to directly resurrect his dead girlfriend from the grave. However, he failed. Now, you could get into a really philosophical or religious debate about whether or not he actually, resurrected, the soul of a person or blah, blah, but that doesn't matter. It says repeatedly in the books that resurrecting the dead is not possible. And so I don't think that's what the Resurrection Stone does. I think the Resurrection Stone is a lot like the Pensieve. I mean, it looks into your mind and pulls out from your mind who you want to see. All of these items, they haven't told a person anything that they didn't already know. I mean, the Mirror of Esterded shows you your heart's deepest desire. But don't we all already know our heart's own deepest desire? And if we don't, I mean, if we did enough soul searching, we could find it, you know? But nobody can tell you what you want except for yourself. The Mirror of Esterded, I mean, it's a mirror. It's literally reflecting back to you what you want to see. The Pensieve, you pull it from your own mind and put it in there in order to experience it. The Resurrection Stone is doing the same thing. It's just showing you what you want to see. Why didn't the Resurrection Stone pull out Fred? I mean, Harry had just seen Fred's dead body, and Harry still cared for Fred very deeply, but he's not the person that he needed to see at that time. He's not the person that he's been longing to be with. For all this time. It's not his heart's deepest desire to see Fred there. It's his heart's deepest desire to see his parents, the family he never knew. It also brings back Lupin and Sirius, two father figures to Harry. They reminded him of his father. It doesn't bring back Tonks, even though she died right alongside Lupin. The Resurrection Stone essentially is the combination of the Pensieve and the Mirror of Esterded. It shows you exactly what you want to see and how you want to see it. It kind of reminds me of the computer in Supergirl that has been uploaded with all of the knowledge and memories of Kara's mother, and so the computer can kind of interact with her in a similar way to the way her own mother would, except for the fact that it's a computer. So I think the Resurrection Stone is just creating a phantom version of these people based on these memories and the hopes and dreams and desires of the person wielding the stone. So the Resurrection Stone allows Cadmus to see and to interact with and to talk to his long-lost love. However, she's still cold and distant, as if separated from him by a veil, which of course brings me to the veil in the Ministry of Magic, which we can assume is some sort of portal or conduit between life and death. All we really know about it is that Harry and Luna seem to be the only people who can hear voices coming from it. They're also the only people who can see Thestrals, which we are led to believe is some sort of connection to their connection with death. The fact that they have witnessed a death. The death of Luna's mother, of being so young yet old enough to remember it very clearly. I mean, Harry was very young. He doesn't really remember it. However, it's not until the death of Cedric that he can see the Thestrals. It's a death that he feels responsible for. It weighs heavily on his heart. I mean, it's kind of a building's moment for him. It turns him to a man because all of a sudden, he's not a carefree child. I mean, he has weight on his shoulder that he has to carry. And Luna had to carry that with her mother. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Luna felt responsible. I mean, if she was there and witnessed it, she probably still feels responsible in some way. I mean, the way a lot of people who their mothers died in labor with them, I mean, they feel responsible for killing their mother. It was guilt. It was something that weighed heavily on them, and Cadmus could not get away. I mean, if he was looking in the Mirror of Esterded and the Pensieve and trying to create a stone to bring back the dead, I mean, this weight was obviously very much weighing on him, and so he created this veil. Maybe he doesn't really know what he's created. All he knows is that he can hear a voice, and maybe some of those voices, or maybe all of them, are his long-lost love. Perhaps if Harry and Luna had sat there long enough, they would start to hear their parents calling out to them from the other side. It would have driven him to madness. And so here's my theory, is that I think he just walked through the veil, hoping to walk right into the arms of his fiancée. And they died happily ever after. I'm sorry if this was a really depressing end to this video. So my question for you is, who do you agree with more? Ben, that those 3 items were the precursors to the 3 Deathly Hallows, or me, and that all 3 of them were a precursor to just the 1 Deathly Hallow? Let me know what you think. Agua, sister.